Why do you think, and this is, for someone that's not in this space, why is lifting weights and building muscle so important to the whole weight loss program?
So I don't know if everyone on the podcast is listening to guys like Huberman
Hmm.
or Peter Attia, and we have a lot of people talking about wellness, health, longevity, that kind of thing. It's not just about looking pretty
Hmm.
anymore. It's about, I guess, not even when we talk about longevity, not even life extension, just how are the last years, the last decades of your life going to be? Are they going to be enjoyable? Are you going to be able to do the things that you want to do? Or are
Right.
you going to be incredibly limited? You
Play with the
know,
grandkids.
right? Or even just be able to walk up a flight of stairs or get groceries or still drive your car. Just, not have to be taken care of by somebody else. Just have some independence. Go enjoy time with your friends. So, even if not everyone is just trying to lose weight, right? A lot
Hmm.
of people are, um, but just being ambulatory. If we're thinking about, I want to be able to walk when I'm 80 without a walker or a chair. This is where weightlifting and resistance training really plays a critical role. And it doesn't have to be a ton. If we're talking about just health, 2 workouts a week, maybe three. That's what the World Health Organization recommends. And in my experience, we've gotten people looking beach ready on 3 days a week of lifting,
Wow.
total body. I mean, that can be a lot of resistance training. You can do too.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours in the gym each time. If you can't swing that, it could be 20 or 30 minutes, multiple days a week. Basically take small bites. But the big thing is, if you're getting started, don't knock yourself out with something that's way above your pay grade, that you can't recover from, that's extreme. Start with something manageable that you can succeed at. That's probably my biggest go-to for anyone who has a New Year's resolution. Small moves. You didn't arrive in the place you are now quickly.
Hmm.
I don't know what the age of the audience here, but if you're 40, 50, 60, and you've never really been able to put in a good concerted effort, or if you were an athlete when you're young and you're taking a lot of time off, you're not jumping into a hardcore athletic program. That doesn't make any sense. And you're
Right.
probably going to be discouraged. If you're going to crash diet to get things started for yourself, you're going to be very hungry very quickly. You're going to be eating very little food that's not sustainable. And you're probably going to be excluding most of the things that you enjoy. You're going to hate it and you're going to give up. So I
Yeah.
would say if you have a New Year's resolution, it would be, how can I settle into this for the long haul in a way that's manageable for me
Yeah.
and that I can expand into as time goes on.
I,
That's
I
probably the biggest thing.
I think that's one thing. Like, if I looked at my journey and when I started, if I kind of understood more and how it actually works, I would have just started slower and progressed. And I think that's one thing people dig themselves a hole with. Like, they're jumping into so much cardio and so much restriction that there's nowhere for them to go. They're gonna plateau, and I've dealt with all sorts of this type of stuff in my journey. And if I had to start over, I would start over slower, moderate, limited amount of cardio, limited calorie deficit, and just kind of plug away. And then you can tweak stuff as you go.
Yeah,
But
and success breeds success. If you pick something that you can win at, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself.
right.
You bite off more than you can chew, and you start not showing up to the gym as many times as you committed. You're not walking 15,000 steps a day. You're only getting 4,000 steps a day, which is still good. And anything
Mhm.
above zero is good, mind you. And most of the
Mhm.
health benefits you get from doing extra activity don't come from doing extreme levels of it. It kind of goes up and then levels off pretty quickly. And you get these kind of incremental gains at the top as you're getting more and more fit. That's not to say that being robustly fit, having a very strong heart and lungs and a strong body, isn't going to be more protective against risk factors for death and disease when you're older. But most of the benefit, like 80% of the benefit, comes from just going from zero to like a quarter of that,
Mhm.
realistically. So if you can just do that, you're way ahead of the game and you're doing yourself all kinds of favors. So I would just say don't be too hard on yourselves.
So if you were designing a program. Let's say someone that's been somewhat active, kind of in and out of the gym for the last year, but now they put on 10 or 15 or even 20 pounds from the holidays, and they're getting back into it. If they wanted to put on a little bit of muscle and lose a little bit of weight, what kind of program would you suggest for them? Like,
Again,
we could talk about diet separately, but just going to the gym part.
going to the
Training.
gym, I would say, coming back, I would want you probably at least 2 days a week, maximum three. Train with some sort of a squat pattern or a lunge, some sort of a hip hinge pattern. And people think about deadlifts. They could be literally just glute bridges with weights, kind of like the deadlift patterns personally, unless you're having back issues that prevent you from doing that. Some kind of push, some kind of pull, press overhead, pull down. The rep range you want to be in, probably somewhere between 10 to 15 repetitions, probably within a couple reps of failure, or if you don't want to think of it in those terms, just keep going until you can't keep perfect form on your lift. And probably about, just to get started, 3 sets for each muscle group. Each time you're in the gym, start with about 6 sets a week of legs, back, chest, shoulders, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be very complicated at all. And every week, if you're feeling good, not sore, not beaten up, the next week, maybe add another repetition to each set. Or if you don't want to add another repetition, add 2.5 to 5 pounds and just hit the same reps you did last week, just with perfect form. And that's probably the other big thing. Don't go in there to try and throw around a lot of weights like a hero. Take it slow, under control. There are no badges of honor for injury. There's just time on the bench and ending up back where you started or maybe worse.
Yeah.
So safety first.
Yeah, I think that's a big point. Is injuries can set you back so far. I've been really, lucky this year that I've been continuing to go to the gym. We've had a couple issues with my elbow and shoulder and stuff like that, but I've been able to stay at the gym because mentally, as you pointed out, that's so good for me. It keeps me in a good place, and it's half or more than half the battle and is a mental. A lot of people, I'm blessed because I don't have a problem getting to the gym. Like, that's part of my routine. I've developed that habit and I enjoy it. That's my time. Not everybody has that. Some people really struggle with, I have to get up, get out of bed and get there.
And you know what? You could always just get an adjustable bench and a selectorized set of dumbbells and some resistance bands. And if you don't have that, yeah, you can get resistance bands and just learn how to do good old-fashioned push-ups, started on an angle on the couch and work your way down to the floor. You can do squats, hold some books or a book bag, or anything heavy once you can work up to it. It doesn't have to be a gym. Not everyone has access to a gym or time, but you can do stuff at home. I mean, gosh, in my 20s, I didn't have time to go to the gym and I was just doing P90X in my basement.
Yes.
That worked. Beachbody. Shout
Tony
out.
Horton.
Yep,
Yeah.
Tony Horton. Yep.
Me and my wife did some of those videos too. That's good.
And here's another one. Try to recruit friends and get some community around you, whether it's online, whether you have a coach, someone that you're accountable to for showing up. I'm not plugging my business here, just in general, people do a lot better when it's a social activity. Right. So even if you can't go to the gym, maybe there's local pickleball. Just get moving and do it with other people whose company that you enjoy and are counting on you to be there. That's a huge driver of continued success.
What are some misconceptions on cardio? I mean, a lot in my thought process, years ago was like, that's the only way you can lose weight is you have to do, an hour of cardio every day. And where do you stand on cardio?
An hour of cardio a day is a great way to get in shape. Cardiovascular conditioning. And, if that's your jam, I'm not going to tell someone they shouldn't do that. But if that's how you are trying to lose weight, I guess everyone's already heard this and there's really no dancing around it. It's just calorie balance. Calorie balance is just, you have to eat less than you need to maintain your current weight. And one way to do that, very simply could be, okay, I am measuring my food every day and logging it. I know exactly how much I eat, and I weigh myself every morning. And I know that if I eat this much, I stay the same weight. So, in a very rudimentary way, I mean, you could just say, okay, I've been doing no cardio, and I take this many steps every day, and I weigh this every day, and I eat this every day. So, if I just increase my energy expenditure with an hour of cardio, I will lose weight. Well, guess what? You will. Like
Right.
you can, as long as you're controlling those other variables.
Yeah.
Now, how you look and feel as you lose that weight, you know, that varies. If you're trying to get ready for a marathon, maybe that's the way to go. But you probably still want to do some lower body strength training, even if you are a long distance runner. I mean, there are benefits to having strong legs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to look young and toned and be more functional, probably adding some resistance training into the mix will be a good idea, because as you're calorie restricting, as you're doing all that cardiovascular activity, if you're not resistance training, you'll be losing probably roughly equal parts muscle to fat. So you tend to you'll get skinny. We see that sort of skinny fat look. And hey, if that's your jam, honestly, like one thing I would say is this: anything is better than nothing, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But if you're thinking you're going to have a lean, toned looking body, in general, the people you see on the running magazines that look lean and toned when they're running are either freaky genetically gifted.
Mm-hmm.
Most runners you see at an elite level are doing weightlifting also,
Mm-hmm.
along with their regular track and field work. And then other times it's just fitness models who pump iron all the time like bodybuilders and then just did a Nike ad.
Yeah.
Most people that look lean and toned are lifting weights. They're eating a significant amount of protein daily, and they're generally, when they diet, hopefully not overly dieting and trying to lose multiple pounds per week while they're doing it. It's usually a gradual glide down.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were to take a look at the top physique athletes in the world, the top not natural bodybuilders, their preparation, their diets coming from fairly lean already, last 20 plus weeks getting ready
Wow.
for a competition, and they're losing like 0.5% of body weight a week, just sipping the fat off so they can hold on to all the muscle that they can on the way down. So slow, steady wins the race.
Yeah. What do you feel like is some advice for people if they kind of get started and then they get off track, kind of overcoming obstacles or like getting back on track?
Well, one of the big things I talked about earlier was don't roam alone. Make yourself accountable to other people. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big one. Also, if you fall off track, I would say this: don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. That's a big problem. Perfectionism, this an all or none attitude. I hear this from people when they come in all the time. It's the worst thing I want to hear. I'm either all in or I'm all out. Well, shoot. I mean, this is a long run you're going on here. You're going to stumble a few times and get tired. So, what I would say is, if you have a program that you're running and you're trying to be perfect with it, it's not going to happen for you. There are going to be setbacks, and that's normal. You got a long time here. It's probably going to be many decades, ideally.
Right.
So, don't beat yourself up. My favorite is, if you're going to beat yourself up, put down the bat and pick up a feather, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is that sometimes life gets very busy, and just because you can't do all the fitness things and diet related things that you might have become accustomed to, just because you can't do them all doesn't mean you can't do a pared back version of that. There's a real
Mm-hmm.
thing called maintenance,
Yeah.
right? We're not always cutting and we're not always bulking,
Mm-hmm.
just can you toe the line and just try and stay where you are for a while until high periods of stress and work and whatever is holding you back passes,
Maintenance or hanging on for dear life, as I like to
or
call
hanging on for dear life.
it.
And if you backslide a little bit, just gently course correct. I think the big thing is this: course correcting sooner than later before things get
Mm-hmm.
really out of hand is very useful. This is why we talked about, I have our clients do daily weighing in.
Yeah.
When it comes to managing weight, for better or worse, the best thing we have right now is actually just daily weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Because if you are off track, you'll see that trend start early. And within a couple weeks, you'll say, oh gosh, yeah, I really am trending up here. And it'll just make you more aware of it. So you don't have to wait until you're up several pant sizes, or, if you're like me at the gym all the time, I'm just wearing things that stretch. So I could gain 15 pounds and not know it based on my pants. Then I put on a pair of jeans and it's like, oh, baby, we've let things get off course. So daily weighing in is a good one. But making yourself accountable to other people is very helpful, and paring back when it's too much instead of just quitting.
Yeah.
Right. And if you do have a major setback and you really do have to take time off, that's not you being a failure or a bad person. Just gently pick yourself up. Maybe you can't start back where you were before, but remember when you started, you were at a certain level. Just start back at that level and slowly start building up. Again, we're not all trying to go out for the Olympics here. We're just trying to win at the game of enjoying our lives and feeling healthy. And that can be accomplished without an Olympic level effort.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
such good advice, I feel. And it's something that I have to tell myself all the time is, things didn't go perfect this week, but I'm still in a better place than I was at this time last year. And I just have to cut myself some slack sometimes.
Yeah. And also when we say, I just do your best, always do your best. Everyone's got to know this in their hearts. Your best varies on the day. Maybe your best today wasn't making it to the gym. It was just getting in some walking. Or your best today was, man, you know what? I didn't want to have 2 slices of pizza and a beer, but I was just out with my friends and I did. And I feel really guilty about that. For one, that sounds delicious. Enjoy. But for another, just then don't go home and have an entire pizza and make it worse. You can just let it be what it is and wake up the next day and say, oh, okay, well, that wasn't what I was planning. Let's try and do a little better today. That's it. Because when you beat yourself up, then you really fall off the wagon. I think that's the biggest one. Do it, but easy does it.
Yeah, I can fall off the wagon from being happy about my progress, or the opposite. Like, I'm doing bad, so I might as well get even worse. And it's a struggle for me. Like I said, I think a lot of our relationship in the past year has been a lot of focused on my mental focus around everything, and it's been very helpful to me, and I appreciate that for sure.
What I will say is that even when you've fallen off, because you've been self-monitoring, those periods have been very brief. Right. You haven't ballooned back up to several hundred pounds. You've ballooned up 10 pounds.
Right. Yeah.
And then even in that time, you were generally still active and lifting weights when you could, so it wasn't like any kind of giant misstep. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's just, oh, okay, I've been off the beam for a little while here, or maybe it's been a tough month or a tough couple months, but by monitoring yourself, things never really got super out of hand.
Right, which wasn't the case for me in years past. So I'm excited about this year going into it and having that more focused, even though things haven't been perfect, but we're leaning towards more better than not better. So that's good.
Yeah, but again, thinking about perfect, you've got kids, you've got a wife, you've got in-laws, you've got a business.
Multiple businesses.
You've got a highly successful, internationally known podcast.
That's right. There's so many people listening right now. It's unreal.
The pressure is on, so I think you're doing very well.
Any closing thoughts on how people should take a look at this year going into, the holidays? Everyone's going to have a great time. New Year's Eve is going to come, and then it's January 1st, and everyone's going to the gym. Is there any other, 1 or 2 tips or tricks that you think people should really focus on?
I think that if you've never lifted weights before, I think it's very advisable to get professional help. It's pretty technical. I'm not going to recommend me, but just anyone.
I'll recommend you.
You could recommend me, but I guess what I would say is a lot of people look at the expense of that, and they say that that's too much. It's an investment in your health and your well-being. So I would just say at least get a few lessons if you could. Or even go to your gym and snake them into giving you one of those free sessions that's like supposed to be an assessment where they try to sell you. but just like learn some technique, just at least do something like that. That's
Absolutely.
very useful.
I think that's a great idea because you can get, listen, and for everybody, Ian and I have met in person once or twice, just once, right?
It's just once when I
And we
visited
went
Chicago,
to
yeah.
yeah, we worked out one time at the gym, and now I've had a couple training sessions before that, but I've gained so much just out of that one session, 1 hour with Ian, and him focusing on like, this is how you feel your lats, this is how you feel your hamstrings, and it was 1 hour, and I took away so much from that. And you could get, probably not everybody's at Ian's level, but at those gyms where you sign up for a year program, we'll give you a free personal training. Take advantage of that because you can
Yeah.
gain a lot of information just from one session with somebody.
Also, another thing, and this is, we all have our headphones on all the time at the gym now. When I grew up, we didn't have that, not at my
Right.
gym.
Mm-hmm.
Look at someone, generally the big angry looking guy who's super jacked, who looks like he should be lifting heavier weights than he is, who's kind of taking his time and taking it slow. Like if you're trying to put muscle on, go make friends with him. He's probably a sweet guy. It's just the way he gets rid of his stress. Like,
Yeah.
and chat him up. I mean, success leaves clues, if you see someone throwing the weights around at high speed with what appears to be kind of loosey-goosey technique, maybe give them the old squint eye, maybe avoid that one. And then the other one is this. When it comes to cardio training, this is a big one. If you've been doing none, don't go out there and start doing a HIIT class all of a sudden. You might give yourself cardiac arrest. Start slow. Look up online a walk to jog program. If your knees hurt, maybe it's an elliptical, maybe it's biking, maybe it's swimming.
Right.
But ease into it, especially if you're older, especially if you have any issues with high blood pressure, any kind of congenital heart defect. But don't go from the couch to a sprint. Ease your way into it, ease your way into longer mileage, ease your way into higher levels of intensity. Give yourself time. Don't give yourself a sprained ankle, a busted knee, or a heart attack. Ease into it. It's good. You should do it, but ease into it.